This digital recording comes from the New Energy Times archive.
Can you tell me what exactly the significance of the 2.5 is? I mean, I understand I'm not a scientist, I've attempted to read as much as I can and understand.
I can give you a short synopsis of that. Can I say something here about this? You're going to publish this, right?
Yes.
You're not a scientific person, right?
That's correct.
What's this procedure about? Can we see what you're going to print before you print it? Not to change anything, but to make sure you don't screw something up here.
In technical terms?
You know, we're serious business here.
You're right.
Yeah, and I have seen crap in newspapers that comes out, that quotes a generation of isotopes which don't exist and all kinds of stuff like that. Nobody's going to change anything.
Well, that's a good point. And, the reason I stopped talking to the Globe, for example, is that I felt that they were reporting irresponsibly.
They interviewed me, but didn't interview me.
Yeah, and they were out there just eating the chairs instead of being objective.
Let me say this to you. In general, the process is, the policy of the paper is to turn down a story before having it proofread outside of the paper. But I understand what you're saying. I think given that I'm not a scientific person, we could work something out.
There has to be a way because there's sort of a moral obligation here on our part to make sure.
Well, let me put it another way. I mean, we're beginning to get very short fused on this whole issue. You can tell because, for example, these guys are down in Congress, Ron was down there on the Wednesday asking for 125. Well, 100.
Was it 125?
Only a mere 25 from the government.
Yeah, right. 25 from the government, the rest from industry.
And it's one thing when they come out with something that's potentially interesting scientifically and so on and so forth. Quite another thing when they're out there trying to fleece public money to push something that has no credibility at this point. Now, you're right away, but what we're saying is we're ready to begin getting into the controversy.
I should explain to you.
So we don't want to do that without trusting the source, okay? In other words, I know I can't trust the Globe, I'd like to trust you. I can't trust you unless I know what you're going to turn out.
Well, I guess it depends on what we talk about. What you're suggesting is that what I would like to do based on just a little information that I've heard is write a story that indicates that you have serious questions and concerns about what Pons and Fleischmann are saying.
We can go beyond the concerns and questions to say that what they have reported is not true. That's a much stronger statement.
And that potentially what you're suggesting is they're out to bring some money into the university.
Well, I should say that that's your conjecture, not mine. Okay, the fact that they're down there asking for $125 million, you can draw your own conclusions from that.
I would suggest that you probably have a tape of the entire hearing.
Do you have it?
I don't have one now.
Well,
I can get
you
one.
should get one and you should look at it and spend the time because then you'll understand what was going on down there. In terms of your background and what it's a very important thing for you to look at. Even though you may be on a deadline and it may be 6 hours long and all that stuff, you really need to see what was going on.
Okay. What's your impression of what was happening there?
It was a fairly well orchestrated attempt to, in my mind, short circuit in this case, well-established and well-recognized review process for any kind of research, much less this kind of research, and get diversion of funds from other projects, presumably, to the University of Utah. And it was, they used, if you assume that what they're saying is correct, you may argue about the heavy-handedness of what their logic is, of their methods, but for something that's not been proven to be correct, the fact that they used this was going on, plus the fact that they attempted to use the argument that
Tell me as soon as you can, please, and tell Paul that you want you to be put through. Okay, thanks.
You must, if you haven't, if you don't look at the tape, you should read Ira Magaziner testimony. He's the consultant that they hired to,
Is he the one that went into this homogeneous society and all that? Is he the one that went there?
Savior of mankind.
Bizarre.
Well, I mean, he made a very, unitary pseudo-truth. That's the word I use. Start out with something which is fundamentally true, and everything else is not so true after that. We are, in fact, getting killed by the Japanese. I mean, we're great inventors, but we don't do a good job of bringing things to market. The Japanese are excellent at that, and we're getting beat. We get our ass beat. Right? And that's the argument that he used. We should dump all kinds of money in here. We should go on parallel paths. We should establish a center, an international center in Utah, naturally in Utah, because that's where the best scientists are. And we should get going on this right away. And that makes sense. If you have an established, verified product. I think I agree that we're getting killed by the Japanese, and so therefore there has to be a way to augment the way we do that kind of thing. But he started from a fundamental assumption which was not correct, and that is that we don't have anything that's proven, and moreover, not only do we not have anything that's proven, but there's a lot of reason to believe that not only will it be disproven, but it'll turn out that it's not correct.
Well, let me ask you, just back up a step. You're talking about, I presume you're talking about traditional scientific controls and traditional scientific methods that have not been observed in this particular situation.
I give you a quote. This is scientific schlock. Okay.
Tell me specifically what they've done that makes it.
I'll just tell you about the neutrons. Okay, that's really important. Okay, they've taken some data. They didn't even take it themselves. They had people take it for them. They published it in their paper, and they claimed that it shows the presence of neutrons from their experiments. The data has been patently falsely interpreted. Neutrons are not present at anywhere near the level. Their own data shows that they're not there. They've misinterpreted their results. They've falsely interpreted their results. Whether they did this intentionally or not, I don't know. But they did not interpret the results correctly. It's a key point in that paper.
And specifically what they're claiming is that it was neutrons that were creating.
That they were creating neutrons from their experiments. Their documentation, unfortunately, shows not only was it falsely interpreted, but there were no neutrons at anywhere near the level they claimed. I mean, you can use the data in two ways to show that they falsely interpreted it, but also that there weren't neutrons to the level that they claimed.
So at best it's misinterpretation, at worst it's, as you were saying,
it's fraud.
Now, do you know this from studying their research, from reviewing their information, or have you tried, and I presume you've in addition attempted to parallel what they've done?
We reproduced their results so we completely understand why they misinterpreted. Not really put it different way. We don't understand why they misinterpreted. We understand what they should have seen and didn't. Okay.
So you've reproduced their experiment.
We've simulated the neutrons. We've said, suppose there were neutrons. What would it have looked like? And we find something quite different from what they found.
And we find what we should expect.
We find what we should expect, what all of the scientific literature says we should expect. And what they have found is something that's at variance with all the scientific literature on the subject. And yet they published it and said, this is proof that neutrons are coming out.
Would you care to speculate on their intent?
I think Ron made it perfectly clear. I mean, you're asking for $125 million for the university. I mean, I don't want to be tied into that quote, but I mean, it's the thing that you have to draw the reader's attention to. That they were in Washington Wednesday asking for $125 million.
You should. I keep stressing that here it is. What funding might be available to Congressman Brown? Question to Peterson. President, right? University.
Oh, I don't know his name.
Peterson.
Oh, Chase.
Answer, 25 million now. How fast should it be? Answer. Time issue is very important. Must be quickly 1 week.
Jeez.
Then, let's see. Congressman Brown, I was writing pretty fast.
I'm trying to recover from that.
Yeah, you have created a sense of national urgency. This is a comment from Brown, yes. 125 million someday. 100 million with 25 million from the government. So let's be careful here now. I have 100 million minimum. 25 million from the government. That's what I have. Okay. A few universities have gotten all the way out.
My understanding is that the congressmen who were present didn't seem to be too terribly disturbed by the 25 million.
They were cheerleading.
Well, cheerleading in the morning.
Didn't they say or something?
Yeah, they were cheerleading in the morning.
Okay.
They were, you see,
Chris?
Congressman
Chris?
Hill.
Yeah. You just talked to Richard Garland, who wrote the Nature piece. I don't know if you saw that. But he and I basically struck it off. I mean, I said his piece was the best thing written so far. And he told me he did see the original submission, and it did have the line of 2.5. The original submission had the line of 2.5, so, that's that's a smoking gun with fingerprints, okay? You don't even need Hoffman.
The Nature thing.
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to quote him, but that's a good question. I mean,
We pride our, this is Peterson, Chase Peterson. We pride ourselves.
But the original submission to the journal had 2.5, just as the 2.5 on the equation. So,
We should be the
so,
place where
now it transcends, I think, the question of whether they misinterpreted it to the question of whether there was
They brought
deliberate
out
cause.
brochures from Utah handed about this hearing was not about science, it was about money.
Okay. All right. So that's okay. Okay, well, all your detective work was correct, but now we have the smoking gun with the fingerprints on it, right? Okay, yeah, see you, bye.
Yeah, is that the nature thing that you're talking about?
Yeah, that was
Do we have the whole article? I don't have the whole article.
It's 2 hours long.
Yeah, I mean, people, they circulate around.
Well, it's one of the most sensible ones. Right? It says, look, the neutron peak is funny things about it. They know each other, the whole spectrum, why is the escape peak?
Well, I'm sure he's gotten a lot of information from people like us, too.
Well, yeah, and then he talks about the calorimetry, and do they have stirring, how they know they don't have convection, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's asking the right questions on it, so I thought he would be good to talk to, and he just volunteered. He'd seen the original submission to the journal. The line was at 2.5.
That's what we suspect.
That's right.
If the line is actually at 2.5,
So it's bogus. It's completely bogus.
The line you're talking about, I don't understand.
peak, it's the gamma ray peak that results from a 2.43 or 2.5 neutron fusion.
Well, it's actually a slow neutron by the time it reacts to the proton.
But it was a 2.5, and it should be a 2.2 if it's the real thing.
And they just shifted it.
They shifted it down from 2.5 to 2.2.
Publication had the peak at 2.5.
And they just moved it down
and
by
then they
hand.
moved it down by 7.3.
This is where my statement is that you just don't know. I mean, misinterpretation was malicious.
Huggins indicated his excess power was greater than 14%.
Unfortunately, I've seen that paper. I give it a B as a senior thesis.
I talked with Sigmund Freud's wife.
I mean, hydrogen is a cell, supposedly identical. Everything's identical. They see the temperature difference.
This digital recording comes from the New Energy Times archive.
One little thing, the electrodes are different sizes.
Yeah. Well, remember, we went through that business about hydrogen and deuterium. We know the temperature's going to be different. It has to be different. It would be different regardless.
It's different, yeah.
It would be different if you used platinum for electrode. It wouldn't make any difference because of the electrolysis.
Have you guys talked about this before?
Only about 100,000 times.
All right. This particular...
Yeah.
So the Stanford is the one group that keeps being held up as the verification group. See, you notice what's happened. People came out. First, there were all these people, we reproduced the results. Then one by one, they dropped out.
Texas A&M dropped out, right?
Texas A&M had ground loops. Georgia Tech had the temperature sensitivity of the neutron detector. The Washington group for graduate students just discovered there was tritium in heavy water. They didn't know about that. The Stanford people are doing a meaningless experiment comparing hydrogen to deuterium. It should be different. There's nobody left.
The team that we have here, we don't always agree with one another on what's going on, but we've got enough people here so that we correct ourselves. One guy says something, he thinks something, another guy. We got enough cross-checking and balance here that we know what's going on. And
well, it's not just MIT either. I mean, there are dozens of groups around the country.
They have to be the same thing.
We personally know 20 groups that have tried this. All of them are very competent groups. Nobody's been able to reproduce the results.
Is there anyone that has been able to reproduce the results?
Not to our knowledge.
Not to our knowledge.
Weren't the Soviet scientists, didn't they come to say that they do?
The Soviet work was in 1976. Lithium hydride, completely different experiment. We know nothing about the details of it, but it was a long time ago. The Italian work, much different type of characteristic. Let me give you the following analogy to try to involve Brazil this morning. You have to talk about the Brigham Young experiment. You know about the Brigham Young experiment?
Yeah.
And the Utah experiment. Compare these two. The Brigham Young experiment is like somebody says they've built a car, an automobile, and been able to drive it at 60 miles an hour. So in 1870, that would be a pretty interesting result, right? These guys at Utah are saying they built a car and traveling at the speed of light. Okay? This is how far out what they're saying is, and the difference between these two. Okay? It's like automobiles versus traveling at the speed of light, through space. I mean, it's just totally different. There's no comparison between these two.
There are many groups in places far, far away that have duplicated programs.
Far away.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. That's
the galaxy far.
Yeah. I started.
This is where the green men come in.
Salt Marsh and Perth. It was curious. As soon as the words "far, far away" were uttered, two heads went towards me, and I was like this,
This is my quote. My first quote about the whole thing in the Washington Post was that usually you hear about these crackpot reports of making fusion in a black box. This guy has a black box, and it always comes out at the end. Some man from Mars, little green man from Mars, told them how to do it. And so he put it in the.
They were questions about they were questions about their publication in Nature and why it was withdrawn. All right, we released a pre-publication to a journal that is designed for this purpose. Nature is supposedly a journal that's designed for pre-publication. Right, so this is common procedures. It is common practice to release a preliminary version of the paper. Pons and Fleischmann refused to release names of journals that they were submitted to. They said they had submitted papers to other journals, but they wouldn't give the names. Then they said, the best thing to do is to publish another journal in Nature. Nature does not publish full papers. This is why it was withdrawn. That's, to my knowledge, Nature publishes full papers.
The original story was the reviewers wouldn't accept it, and they wouldn't do the work to make it right.
They wouldn't answer that question.
They wouldn't answer the question.
The guy from Utah asked the question to Jones.
What are you going to do with this, Nick? This is... The hearing is that we think it's a scam, right?
Why is it today that you think it's a scam? Have you now
been setting the evidence together very slowly and meticulously, and we want to have a paper out on this before we actually blast them. Now,
when do you think?
Monday we're putting a paper on it.
Okay. Would writing a story for tomorrow's paper?
I thought you were talking Sunday.
I can wait. Do you want me to wait?
Well, it depends on what magnitude you want to break it at.
Well, it seems to me that it's a very significant story for you to be saying that you...
It's the first time I've actually been sort of this strong. Up until now, I've been open.
I mean, everybody, I think, you've been very skeptical, as have other team attempting to reproduce it.
Open to the possibilities. So I think after 5, we're basically getting to the point where we can no longer suspend the disbelief. Hello. Oh, fantastic. Thanks. Bob? Thanks for calling back. Okay, I appreciate it because kind of working with them, it feels very strong and good. We don't sabotage. We don't want them to have a chance to come up with a new story before our paper comes out. Now, I promised you Monday we'll have it out. I'll fax it to you. Oh, okay, all right. What? Oh, I got one in my office. Just a local paper, yeah. Just a local paper. No, we have not done anything as far as press release or anything like that. No, but maybe some reason. You want to. Well, maybe we can work something out, but depends on how big a story wants to be. Well, that didn't see neutrons. And that, I just talked, by the way, to Richard Garland, you know. And he confirmed that the first paper that Pons and Fleischmann submitted had the line of 2.5 million gauges in Pons. Did you know that? Well, that's important because it's like change. And now the question is it fraud?
What we're seeing here is, in my mind, the first time, it's a change in the way people do science.
Well, he doesn't know, but he asked some questions. The reason I talked to him was that he asked some questions to make sure that was
From shortcut it from somewhere?
That's a big deal.
Well, I can't tell you. I mean, Pons is just a push file that took the data, okay? And he just gave it to these guys.
And motivation. Technical accuracy.
He took the data, set it up, he set it up, he gave the data.
And that's handled by the technical.
He never started again.
But a scientific
He told me.
But another issue is the way scientific results
he knows damn well what it is.
are produced and reported.
The entire Utah administration in Washington showing us for $125 million.
And I'm sure he'd agree that this is probably this is the first time that somebody has the whole thing has been turned upside down by the way that people. It can't do anything but be bad.
If it's a neutron, it's 2.2.
Because at the worst, at the least, he would say they're 100%.
Well, there's a thallium peak at 2.6. This is not a real peak.
Even if they're 100%
this
right.
is some artifact.
And the fact that they branded their patent office
pictures
and
in the
the
background.
release
You
and
see
all
that
that kind of
page
stuff
of their spectrum analyzer.
fundamentally
It's not a
changes
real
the
peak.
way
That's the point.
scientific
It's some kind of
results
noise.
because everybody gets gun-shy. People are thinking they're going to steal their results, which is absolutely untrue. The patent law is pretty clear. You have a year after the publication of the paper to get patent protection. Perfectly clear. But they've changed it. Okay?
Isn't there also usually a peer review process that it also needs to...
Now, there are ways to get things done quickly. The argument that, we get it out
Well, why don't I ask for more of it?
That's baloney. There are journals
Okay.
that specialize in patent publication. But with peer review,
Well, we just indicated
And they're not waiting for peer review, obviously. They've gone right to Congress and said we need $25 billion in a week.
they have not waited for peer review, and that is very disturbing.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
Have you had any dealings with these two?
All right. You want to do something on Monday?
Fleischmann's a member of the Royal Society, very, very well respected.
I see what you're saying. Okay. All right.
Up to this point, it may
Okay.
be a reputation without beyond the truth.
You want to talk to him?
Absolutely.
So that's
Certainly calls that a reputation into question.
Well, I know it's you.
I hope this all works out, but nothing really bad happens.
Okay.
I don't know if
I'll try to work on it. Call me later. Yeah, bye. Well, this is Fidel. Bob Fidel wants to run something on this too, but he is NBC.
I don't.
Okay, so he's a little concerned about, how you're going to handle it. And I am too, because he's been very good to me. I mean, as far as, being confidential and respecting my views. And
He's where now?
MPC. He's at the Cape right now, but he wants to run something on this. And I feel like I'd like to, I don't mind if it hits the streets the same day, but I think it would be...
That's fine. I have, Go ahead.
And in fact, I think if you'd respect that, we can probably give you more than...
That's fine. I think, everybody, obviously, this is a tremendous story. It's a big story. It's been a big story not only for the scientific community, but I think people have been reading daily about what's happening and are interested in the potential.
Well, that's another problem, too. The public expectations is heightened to the point where they expect to go out and find a couple of dry cells in their car, and that'll be it. And that is really, it doesn't do anybody any good when you do that kind of thing.
Because of the heightened awareness, though, obviously it's a sensitive story. Everybody wants a scoop. I'm perfectly willing to wait until the deadline to embargo the story until you're comfortable.
We can do it
Monday.
Like Monday, we're going to have a couple of papers presented at the APS meeting in Baltimore, and we'll have a paper that we will distribute at the meeting as well.
Okay.
So it'll be a sort of simultaneous thing. So
I would just ask that no other media outlets get this information beforehand. I think that's fair.
I'm just thinking in my mind. I have a list of sort of good guys.
Technology review.
They'll come out in months.
They'll come out months from now.
We'll have to give it to MIT, actually. Mel.
MIT. No.
I have no, I'm not real hot to scoop anybody with the story. It's a big story. I'd like to do that. Respect your wishes. But I would, if it comes out in another publication that is a competitor or a daily publication.
It's not going on the Globe.
Okay.
And I don't answer phone calls unless they're from inside MIT.
Okay.
I only return phone calls that are from outside MIT.
I did. Would it appear in any other publication before Monday? I guess is the request.
No, I have a question. No,
that's fine.
It doesn't go out.
Not unless it's a fabrication. Not from us.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. So you don't want it Sunday, you want it Monday, the day that you issued
Monday would be good.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yes, Monday.
Okay, on Monday?
On Monday.
All right. I think because of some of the things you're talking about, obviously we're going to need to get into more of the technical aspects of it. Can you tell me some of those for that story in Monday's paper, or would you prefer to handle that?
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave in 10 minutes anyway, so it's not going to be great. Let's see how to handle it. We're going to get into trouble with now on. So we don't work on Monday. So you could break the story on Monday. So you could be a day ahead.
This digital recording comes from the New Energy Times archive.
You don't have a fact. I have a fact second. Well, it also has, this came from Ballinger actually, it has some suggested speakers. Yeah.
An annual meeting?
Oh, that's a contributed papers. They're not all due until Monday.
They don't have an annual meeting, but there may be they have other kinds of meetings.
Right.
It's a good place for them.
Well, I would say Jones, Rafelsky, and Kuhn are fairly now. Okay. Yes.
Will you get a chance to address the group as well?
I'm sure it'll be Ron or Rich Petrosky.
What time is the meeting?
I'm sure.
Do you know where? Do you know where in Baltimore? Okay. Do you know if they're open to the public? We'll probably be there.
If you register.
Okay.
I'm at the president.
Let's see. Okay. Well, in that case, it'll be an all set.
But the point is, those two things are very
I'd give that work a B as an undergraduate thesis. I've seen it, and it's okay, all right. Well, that's fine. I mean, that just makes the case weaker because they're poor science.
5 o'clock, so we're through this so many times.
Well, not all electrochemists believe in these guys.
Essentially, though.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm
One of the graphs is what you would
I'm
expect
working
to
with
happen.
calibrated people
And that
like
is not the graph
Ballinger
that they submitted the
and
bell
these
curve
other
in that paper.
Well, it appears, though, now I guess he knows that
Okay.
the peak should be in a certain shape,
Okay.
and it should be in a certain location.
Well, at Ballinger, we also worked with a guy called Wright, who's an electrochemist, so some repute. Right.
The shape of the peak is not consistent.
Only if they accept negative results. So,
The width of that peak
yeah.
says something about.
Well, we'll take it up.
Technically used.
I think there'll be next week. We're definitely going to hit them on the offensive. I mean, we're very patient, giving them every benefit of the doubt.
We have the same thing.
By the way, one other thing, I don't know if you know this, but in the original submission to the journal, they had the gamma capture gamma plotted at 2.5 MeV. Did
In fact,
you
it's
know that?
impossible to get that resolution with any detector of that type.
Well, you have the errata. You've seen the errata now, right?
That's
But
number
that's
one.
okay. But the original submission was at 2.5.
Number two, the fact
Yeah, well,
that
I know it now.
2.5.
Well, I got it from Richard Gowan, who I think is a reliable source.
2.2, if you have DD fusion, right, material fusion, the
There's no
energy of the
mistake,
neutron
we
is
have
0.43 MeV.
at length to the person taking the data, okay? And he will actually, if necessary, subpoena him.
Neutron energy. That's something you have to be careful about. Neutron energy, right?
Carol, there's no...
2.43 MeV.
What does that measure? I'm sorry.
Well, that's why we've been very careful and very patient.
Okay.
Now, when you detect neutrons, since they don't have a charge on them, they're neutral, you have to detect them. Oftentimes they're detected in different ways. One way is the neutron.
Yeah.
If you have a hydrogenous material that contains hydrogen, the neutron
Yeah, I mean, he was a kind of cheerleader.
collides with hydrogen, and you'll end up with a gamma image, with a gamma ray, which also has a very characteristic.
Santi, I think, is on this one.
That energy is 2.2 MeV.
And what does MEV stand for?
Million electron volt.
Yeah.
Now, if you have that kind of neutron and you have that detector,
will find out.
there should be a characteristic peak
Yeah.
at 2.2 MeV.
Right.
Not only that, but there should be other characteristics of the spectrum,
Yeah.
which are a dead giveaway. For example, there should be a peak
Yeah, okay.
approximately 1/2 of an MeV lower than that. Right?
Yeah.
It's not there.
They claimed that it was 2.2, though, that they saw.
Well, that's the point that Ronald made.
Right.
The original submission, the actual peak in their paper, was at 2.5.
Which would be not a significant measurement.
Not a significant peak. But now it turns out that it appears that they have actually shifted it to 2.2,
Yeah.
which is where it should be. In other words, if it's DD fusion, the peak should be at 2.2 MeV.
Yes.
And that's
Right.
the radiation detection people here are just, they're first-class folks.
Yeah.
Right?
There's actually a reputable physicist who also
Very uptight about it.
sometimes
And they know what the spectrum should
The
look like.
PD reaction.
So they have suspected that something was deficient.
A couple of
Are there other
one from Illinois,
signs
one from
besides this one? I mean, obviously, this is a key.
physical review.
the background
It's okay.
Yeah, you have to talk to spectroscopists to understand, all right?
Yeah. But in any case, the speculation is
in
that
the
the
energy
air production at an element,
near
so that's
2.2.
easily observable and
There's a lot of
plausible
other
anyway,
stuff.
so,
Background rate.
it's not subtle.
And it results in a certain count rate,
It's got to be there.
which is characteristic around the world. All right? That's natural background.
Yeah.
If you look at the peak in their errata, the curve, right? The height of that peak should not be above. The actual height of that peak corresponds to the background. In other words, if you take the background in that region of energy, and you take the counts in their peak, the counts in their peak are no higher than the background. So it's like subtracting a background's 1,000 from 1,001 counts. See what I mean? That's the thing. On the other hand, if the peak is at 2.5...
Well, I mean, he's so far off that he probably could have the theory or something for that.
Because there are not other...
Well, I mean, I don't need to warn me because I wouldn't stand next to him anyway.
The background contains...
He's completely off his own well, so that's concerned.
But you're just in rock.
So the background should have measured lower than it did.
The background should have been much higher.
Okay.
In fact, it should have been so high that their peak should not exist.
That'd be great. Actually, the guy who's calculated the PG reaction
because at 2.5, the background would be lower.
At 2.5, the natural background is very, very much lower.
Okay.
Because it's very, very much lower, then you would see a peak.
100 times the PG over DG.
Okay.
100 times.
So there. The lower energy peak is called an escape peak.
It's just a relative thing. In other words, he takes the DD to helium-3 neutron and says, okay, so that's over the DD to helium-3 rate. Okay, that's not over the DD, the magic DD rate. I mean the helium-4 rate.
High energy gamma type radiation. And it's because of the nature of the detector.
Dr. Horowitz calculates the number of reaction rates for cold fusion, and he points out that that these things at least can be compared on a relative basis, if not absolute. And so on a relative basis, if he sets the relative rate for DD going into helium-3 plus a neutron, if he sets that to 1, then the PD rate is 100.
Gamma rays undergo what's called
well, he's calculated all that. That's exactly what he's telling.
Air production. What happens is the gamma ray comes close to the nucleus, all right? And somehow in that region,
well, he's got, let's see.
Two
I
electrons.
think this is one of these heavy electron fields.
Positive electron.
Yeah.
One is a negative electron. All right? The energy required.
Well, actually, I think he's taking into account the shielding too, from the palladium electron. Right. Yeah, it's a shielding for
each one.
For each one. Right. Now, those electrons are charged particles. Okay? So they don't go very far.
Yes.
They don't go very far.
Yeah.
And they're also called antiparticles. One is the antiparticle, the other positive electron and the negative electron antiparticle. So when they recombine with one another, in order to conserve momentum, they generate two gamma rays.
Yeah.
Each one of them is 0.51 MeV. Right?
No change at all in the energy level. It's the same.
Okay.
They're 0.51 MeV each. Now the detector, right? The detector, which is happening.
Right.
This is the article.
Well, he has a shielding calculation, all right? And uses the electron
the gamma ray has
to
to
shield
stop.
the two hydrogen.
Or the energy of the gamma ray has to be stopped.
Yes.
In order for the detector to sense it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The probability, however, that the gamma ray will escape from the detector. Not
Only the fact.
If that's the case, then you can see what will happen. There'll be 2.2 MeV peak.
Did you good job?
And then there'll be 2.2
Okay, we worked on this,
51.
right?
By subtracting, because part of
So, meanwhile, we're going to pretty much blast these guys on Monday.
and if both
Well, on the neutrons.
This digital recording comes from the New Energy Times archive.
there'll be a peak, another 0.51 MeV lower than that. So there should be two extra peaks associated with this high energy gamma ray.
Oh, no,
The probability
it's
of both gamma rays escaping it is low. Right?
Right.
Usually it's only one. So the first escape peak is usually stronger than the second escape peak. They're called escape peaks because the gamma ray escapes.
Yeah.
Not there.
So what they did is they suggested that both did escape, which is
Well,
highly
they
likely.
didn't suggest anything. There was very, very little explanation of the spectrum.
Sure. Well, you can take that one on. I'm not going to get into the calorimetry. I think, having done the calorimetry for several weeks now, I understand much better about the problems, and I think I could speculate on what they did and didn't do. I certainly know enough to discount completely the Stanford experiment, only because they published enough details so I could see whether they went wrong. Now, in the case of Utah, they didn't publish details, so I can't say.
Basically, yeah. And that's what led these people here to say to themselves, "What's funny here?" The heat is a different issue. You know, paper itself is really not. In spite of what the fact that they say the paper is conclusive on heat and it's well documented.
No. Right.
Is there any sort of simplistic generalization you can make about these very technical things?
That's right.
That is something to the effect of...
But what I'm trying to tell you, Harold, is that is fraught with bad ideas, because hydrogen and deuterium don't electrolyze the same way. And so the two electrons in the two cases are going to be different. Not to mention the fact that these different size electrodes, which means that the homoglosses will be different even if the fluids are the same. So, it's just full of holes.
Number two,
well,
palladium acts as a catalyst.
All right, he did the wrong experiment. He also misinterpreted the results of the experiment he did do, all right? It's a stronger statement.
But doesn't get consumed in the reaction. All right? In other words,
Hey,
it's there
really
participates in the sense that without it being there, it wouldn't happen.
Good. Well, that's good.
That's what a catalyst is.
Anyway, look, I think it's pretty clear. All I'm going to focus on is I know the following facts. All right, so they published a peak initially at 2.5. They then moved it to 2.2 at the same
very,
time.
very careful.
Now, that could be either fraud or it could be just new interpretation. I'm not going to comment on it. However, the line that they finally show is anybody ever achieved the sodium iodide 3-inch crystal. It's also half of what we produce. We simulate the whole experiment. There's no Compton edge. The background is too low. I mean, we have these guys on 5 counts, okay, on the neutrons. They did not measure neutrons.
Hydrogen can come out. Now, if you have a surface, which is
Greatest
and that was made, by the way.
It was. There were
at least 3 people said they were sure.
Is it possible that you haven't waited long enough? Or do you think you've done everything that you can do to determine?
But it's not just a question, though, of reproduction. Okay. I mean, that was the first few weeks while you haven't waited long enough. Now it's
the incubation period has gone from 10 hours to a week, 6 weeks to 2 months. Every time you get a set of negative results.
Right, we do it? Yeah.
I mean, well, you just didn't wait long. Or you didn't prepare the palladium right. Or you didn't do this, or you didn't do this. It's an infinite loop you get in. Okay. And it's just time to stop the loop is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So how are we going to leave this? Because maybe we should just close. You're going to hold this until Monday, right?
Yeah. Can you call me later this afternoon so we can talk a little bit more about it and talk about the approach? I mean, I will at least try to get some of the information together today. I probably won't be able to pull the story together. I'm just going to talk more about it.
I would really like to see it for technical content. You know, I mean, it's a really, nobody's going to try to. I mean, although we might like this